as a Mobs, who we had on yesterday, did a video about Pokemon types for the Demodilla killers. And I thought it would be interesting to react to it because I'm like the Pokemon YouTuber or DVD player, not YouTuber. I'm not a PokeTuber anymore. I'm interested to see the reasoning because I have a feeling from what I've seen, I have seen the Chucky snippet, and I have a strange feeling that he's going to mess up some of the logic of like what fighting type actually means, what ghost type, what dark type actually means, right? So we'll see.
Today we're going to be giving every killer a Pokemon type. Trapper, Normal, Steel. Trapper kicks us off, and being seen as the standard killer of the game, and largely physically appearing human, he starts us off with Normal as his first type. His secondary type, of course, is Steel, a type representing his ties to his family's ironworks, but also his use of steel bear traps and tools to catch survivors. Wraith.
Okay, alright, I get the logic there. Normal steel. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. The steel because of the bear traps. You could have also just made him normal with like a steel like preset of some kind that like makes him steel. Like what is it? Steel Worker is an ability that basically does that. But no, I can see it.
Ghost Fire. Wraith is a little
Fire.
trickier, but I think these fit him well. Ghost for his appearance and role in game, he's a wraith after all, a word which can be interchangeable with ghost, and a character who interacts with the spirit realm when he cloaks. He's also symbolically a ghost of his former self. Fire is his secondary type, and whilst it may seem initially confusing, it's representative of the fire that burns within, the fiery soul, and
I get that. I would have personally gone Ghost normal for Wraith because of the ghostly form and the fact that he's basically just a normal dude at the end of the day. So like Ghost normal, which is a typing that you don't see very often at all, anyways. But okay.
the remnants of his humanity. His first kills were also of course done by use of fire, which I think makes this one fit quite well too. Billy, Fighting Ground. For Billy,
Okay.
Billy, Fighting Ground.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna try to guess the reasoning before we can. Fighting ground. I'm assuming ground is because of the chainsaw is technically a construction thing. As for fighting, I guess because he's really strong?
For Billy, I focused on his aggressive nature and great strength, leading to his placement as fighting. Ground he gets as a secondary category, with him being raised on a farm, having close ties and a great affinity to the earth.
I think just normal, just fighting on its own would have worked. Um, I think you could have also done fighting steel, obviously because of the chainsaw. But yeah, I think just fighting on its own. The ground seems like a stretch, like a big massive stretch. Then again, I mean, I guess you kind of have to, or else this would be a very boring kind of explanation. But I don't know if I fully agree with grounds. Huh.
As it were. Nurse, Ghost, Psychic, Flying.
Okay, first off, I understand the triple typing, but let's keep it double types for my end. I think Ghost Psychic makes the most sense. I don't think there's any reason for it not to, honestly.
Nurse I had to go with 3 different types. For the most part I've tried to keep everyone to 2 types, but there were some I think simply fit into more and had to add them in. Ghost is for her similar ghostly nature to that of Wraith, floating around and being an empty, hollow version of her former self, also interacting with the spirit world. Psychic is for her psychic powers that allow her use of telekinesis, then finally Flying as she's one of few flying killers in the game, so I
You could have just made her Ghost Psychic and then given her the Levitate ability, so that would have
had to give it
lined
to
it
her.
up.
Myers, Dark Normal. Darkness is what primarily defines Myers, with him being described as evil incarnate.
I
He
agree
is
with
the
this one.
dark, and
Yep.
the dark is him. Normal comes in simply due to him physically being very human in the realm, comparatively to the other killers. I also think part of what makes Myers scary is that he's in part a normal-looking person. Hag, Fairy, Poison, Ground. This one is a whole combo
Okay. I understand fairy. I do. I understand ground. I think poison's a stretch. While technically she is a hag who uses like hexes and poisons and things like that, she doesn't do that in game. And honestly doesn't really even do it too much in the lore from my understanding. So I think fairy ground would have been perfectly fine. Also, to reiterate something, I'm going to say something that everyone has heard a million times, but I reiterate it because some people apparently haven't. Dark doesn't mean like actually dark; it means evil, technically speaking. And fairy kind of means mystic, so it's like pixies and like fairy tales and things like that. It's not. It's like magic, where psychic is more like mental magic. If that makes any sense.
strength and ability. Therefore, I think fairy makes sense, with her also being the source of it. Poison is sort of similar for her ability to poison people with their use, with the use of the hexes, applying a variety of negative effects, which I'm sort of rolling together as a poison. Then finally a ground for her origins in the swamp, and her appearance taking it on to some extent, becoming a swamp tree like
I
her
still think fairy
grandmother
ground
Wanda.
would have been
And
fine.
Doctor, electric steel. Electric for his electric focus and powers, with his
Mm-hmm.
heart literally having an infinite supply of electricity. Then steel due to his typical conducting of the electric being through steel, as well as his use of a steel bat as his primary weapon. The two come hand in hand for Doctor. Huntress,
Okay.
fighting fairy.
Okay, I fully agree with the doctor one. That makes sense. And actually, I kind of agree with this for Huntress. Fighting doesn't necessarily mean like they're like fighters. It just means strength, basically, like physical strength. And then Fairy, because she's kind of in the woods. Again, I think just normal, just like one fighting would have been just fine. But yeah.
Grass. I sort of wanted to go in the direction of Huntress's fighting ability for this one, but also the environment she came from, which is so important to her, hence the grass type on the end. Her environment and the red forest itself is a part of her, and so a third type I thought was important. Fairy is for her deceptive element, and the fact she's actually a were-elk, capable of transforming into one. It looks strange classifying her as that, but I do think it works. Bubba, normal steel. Normal human.
You know what? I think normal fighting would have worked for Bubba. I don't think Steel would have. It was necessary because of the chainsaw. Because by that logic, then Billy should have been Steel as well. I'm just gonna say it.
Guy, but he has a chainsaw. That's essentially my entire reasoning there. Debatably, he could just be a normal type, I think. Freddy, psychic, ghost, fire.
I would honestly just make Freddy Ghost Fire. I wouldn't do Psychic because his psychic abilities are while he's in the dream world. He doesn't really have them outside of it. So them just being like a mental thing, you could either go Ghost or Psychic, and then the Fire because it's just so iconic with Freddy, obviously.
Freddy gets psychic first off due to his abilities with the dream world and as a dream demon that allow him to manipulate and torment his victims, using his powers to invade and alter their dreams to be deadly. He's also ghost as he's undead, and back from the dead, I suppose. He's got a final small bit of fire due to him being burned. Quite harsh, I know. But also for his fire imagery often paired with him, such as with Fire Up. He has an inner rage, which fire represents well. Pig,
Yeah,
steel, electric, normal. Pig utilizes steel for her.
Whoa, electric. Because of the mechanisms on the track. I mean, you could just make that just steel. I mean, Clink Clank is literally two gears, and it's just flat steel, you know?
Traps and games, with electric in there too for the mechanical parts, and finally normal due to her fairly regular human appearance. These could be a bit debated, but I think her realm version and self, these do fit her quite well, with her now being the game master. Clown, poison, normal. Poison felt fitting with his
Okay, poison normal I think works for Clown. Poison in general does. The only poison normal type in the entire series for Pokemon is a lemur that graffitis things. So I think making this poison normal because at the end of the day he is just a normal dude and all he's doing is throwing like poisonous bottles at you. I think it works.
primary ability being poison focused, what with it slowing down survivors. His bottles are essentially a poison, combining a number of different sedatives and harmful substances to slow survivors down and disorient them. Then normal for his otherwise normal human appearance. Spirit, Ghost, Fire, Ice. Being an undead spirit.
Okay. I like how he said he did it for just some of them. It looks like every other one has 3 types. Ghost is obvious. I would have honestly... I don't know if I would have gone Ghost Fairy, maybe, for Spirit. Because she's a yokai, technically, so... I mean, that's where... I think Ghost Ice just works just fine, because of the yokai inspiration that she's based on, so...
The Ghost fits Rin well, and then I paired this with both Ice and Fire, a unique set of types. However, I think due to Rin's inner split between her sides of Rage and Anguish, these two work well for her. Fire representing the spirit, and the anger and rage within her, the part of her seeking revenge. Then Ice representing the anguish, despair, and pain over her final moments and current situation. Legion, normal, fighting, ice. They are primarily normal.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Legion, I think, is another one you could have just made normal. I don't think fighting was necessary. You could have done normal dark, actually, since they're, like, probably one of the more evil characters, because their entire motivation is just to kill people for fun. So, like, I think just doing normal dark would have been good.
And could be just normal, honestly, with this being their key defining feature. This is the type of horror they represent, the idea that anyone could be a killer, with them looking so normal. Then they have 2 subtypes of fighting, for their fighting studies they've said to have done, and their aggressive attacks and speed. Then they have Ice, representative of Ormond and the environment they grew up in. Plague,
I don't think Ormond was necessary for that.
These 2 types are down to her focus on the plague. Poison for its
Yeah,
effect on people,
okay,
and
I can
Bug
agree
to
with that one.
represent the pestilence aspect of it. Also because I really wanted to place someone in Bug and I couldn't think of another good fit. So Poison Bug I think works well for her. Ghostface, Ghost and Normal. Ghost for the ghost part and normal for the face part. Demogorgon, Psychic Ground.
Hold up. We're not just gonna walk past that, so guys.
Ghostface, Ghost and Normal. Ghost for the ghost part and normal for the face part.
Get a fucking... How do I even debate that? Ghost for the ghost part, normal for the face part. Shit, I can't... that logic is so sound. Damn. I don't know, what would I classify Ghostface? Like, I think Ghost Normal actually does work. Just like with Wraith, I think it works just fine.
Ghostface, Ghost and Normal. Ghost for the ghost part.
Like, honestly, like, it just... Dark no. See, this is the problem with doing this, though, with, like, Dead by Daylight Killers, because technically speaking, almost all of them could be dark. Because since it technically means evil, and they're 90% of the cast is evil. But yeah, I could see Dark Normal. Dark Normal actually makes sense, considering he is, like, a serial killer.
And normal for the face part. Demogorgon, Psychic Ground. Demogorgon use the ground.
So a minute ago, he said he couldn't think of a type or a killer that would fit Bug, so he just threw Plague into it. Hear me out. Bug Ground for Demogorgon. And I'm only saying that because Demogorgon is, like, part of a hive mind. They're not, like, individuals. And it's a very, like, bug-like thing. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I think that kind of makes sense. And then the ground, because of the being able to, you know, teleport through stuff. I mean, you could do Bug Psychic, I suppose. I just like to see him representing ground a lot. Ground is getting used way more than I thought it would. That's a type that, like, I barely see anyone mention on anything.
To tunnel and to traverse, especially in the realm, and are of course controlled by a greater psychic power, and seem to have some psychic abilities themselves, as seen in the first season of Stranger Things, with some sort of telekinesis going on. Their primary type is simply dog, I suppose. Oni
dog
fighting. This is for a combination of Kazan Yamaoka's rage.
I like this. I'm not even going to debate this, because I like this typing for him. Fire fighting is It's actually really good for Oni.
And his clear fighting ability, which allowed him to cause a lot of torment across Japan when he went on his dark pilgrimage. Deathslinger Steel Normal. Caleb's primary feature is his
Steel normal. I'm trying to think of a Pokemon with a gun. Offhand. Steel normal. I'm thinking like, because Inteleon has a gun, but it's a water type, so that doesn't count. Steel ground, because Cowboy? He doesn't really do anything with the ground, though. He's not like a... Remoraid is a gun. That one's also water type. What is it with Pokemon making all the guns water types? Try to tell me something there, Pokemon. Um, Honestly, yeah, I guess Steel Normal works the best. I can't really think of anything else.
twisted creations and tools, and so steel makes sense, with most of them being made of metal. Then normal for his human regular appearance, he's just a regular guy bounty hunting with his tools. Pyramid Head, Steel Dark, primarily steel due to the big
Steel Dark for Pyramid Head. I get the logic before anyone says anything. I understand the logic. And I think, again, I just flat agree with that. I can't think of anything else Pyramid Head would be other than Steel Dark. He's literally the manifestation of, James's Steel Fairy. Maybe? I don't know if that fully works, though. Because he's not evil, so you're right. So Fairy actually might make more sense. Because at the end of the day, Pyramid Head is literally just James trying to punish himself, right? So I can see the argument for Steel Dark, Steel Fairy, or Steel Psychic. I could see the argument for all three of them. Psychic because he's a mental manifestation, Dark because he's literally a punisher, and an executioner, and Fairy because it's kind of like mystical in essence on why he exists in the first place. So I can see an argument for all three.
Bit on his head, shaped into a pyramid, and then dark for how he represents the darkness within James Sunderland. As a being, he's also sort of a dark creature, a punisher of those who hold guilt, a being born of Silent Hill, and so dark is the most applicable. Blight, Poison Ground. The cool part of Blight is, of course...
Okay. Hear me out for Blight. I'm gonna get so much shit for this. Hear me out for Blight. Poison Electric. Because he moves really fast. Also, Ghost for Pyramid Head would be interesting. I don't think it works as well though, personally. Because he's physically there, like he's not like intangible. Then again, Ghost doesn't necessarily mean intangible. I don't know. Pyramid Head's a definitely a weirder one. I feel like he fits like 6 different types. Other than like, I know I'm kind of joking with the electric thing because man move fast, man electric type. Uh, Poison makes sense because of the needles and the blights, right? I don't know what else he really fits into other than that. Fire type? That's an interesting thought. Because of the his face looks like lava. There are times when I'm pretty sure that's how the Pokemon Corporation makes typings. They're like, oh, that's clearly a dark type because it's got a lot of black on it. Clearly. Except Lexio for some reason. I still don't know why that one's not electric dark. I will never understand to this day. Grass. Poison grass. You know what? Axolotl, I actually like that. I like that a lot. Because of the flowers. That actually makes a lot more sense. I like that. I think poison grass would have made more sense than ground. That's the thing. I feel like he's conflating ground a lot with like plants and things like that. But
Of course, the blight, and so poison works, I think. With it largely being a poison. It's a poison or infestation to the entity, it's used to transform people, causing intense pain, and it has of course also destroyed Talbot too. Then ground, due to his appearance, and due to his interactions with the ground, with him being a bouncy boy. He just looks like he fits ground, I think. Twins, normal, grass, ground. They are primarily normal, being regular appearance.
hear me out for twins. Hear me out for twins. Psychic fairy. Here's my reasoning. Here's my logic behind this. I was holding for a dramatic pause. Psychic fairy. They live in the woods. So they're like this like folktale creature. And psychic because of their connection as twins. Yum yum, can you stop clawing my fucking thigh, please? Just normal? I don't know. I want to like. I feel like the fact that they're twins kind of. I mean, normal fairy could work, I suppose. Because they do have a lot of imagery about like flowers and stuff too. So like, again, like grass ground combined to me almost always just tells me it's a fairy type. So maybe normal fairy works. Because I can't go with just normal, just because she can literally like I know it's only in game, but like because she can control Victor. Like,
Characters, but with subcategories of grass and ground, due to their environment and abilities largely falling into the category of survival. They're scavengers and survivors, and so those subcategories work well, I think. Trickster, fairy, fire. Fairy is less so a
saw this one on Twitter. Fairy fire for Trickster. That's an interesting choice. Okay, all right. Before he explains his logic, I'm gonna guess the logic. Because he uses music, it's like a siren. So it's like a siren's call. So like I could see it like being like mystical in that. Fairy steel because of the knives? I think either Fairy Steel or Fairy Dark works the best. Um, I am genuinely curious on his reasoning for fire. I am genuinely curious.
magical element here, but more to do with his deceptive tendencies, and
Okay.
ability to deceive millions of people of his true identity. He's also quite colourful and bright and sort of elegant, which is something often associated with the fairy type too. And then there's fire for his birth within fire, his awakening being from the flames of his bandmates dying, which ultimately
Okay. Okay. That's a bit of a stretch for our reasoning. I get it. I do. But yeah, I think Fairy Steel makes the most sense. Fairy Steel or Fairy Dark. I think both of those make the most sense.
created the Trickster. Nemesis, rock, fighting, poison. Rock is more representative
Fucking rock. You know, I was about to like debate why that would work, but you know what? Fuck it. I'll take it. I think rock fighting actually works really well for Nemesis. Such a good typing. I mean, it's Nemesis, man. It's basically a brick wall, so why not?
of Nemesis being like a rock, an unstoppable and tough force,
Okay.
and fighting for his reliance on his fists and brutality to get things done, and a final category of poison, due to his ability to poison people with the T-Virus, as he does to Jill during Resident Evil 3.
I think Again, I get that he's trying to make like 3 types just to make sure they all fit, but I think just rock fighting alone would have worked just fine for Nemi. I don't think the poison was necessary. While he does have that ability, I mean, it's not like a rock fighting type can't learn like poison moves or something. So, you know.
Pinhead, Psychic, Steel. Steel for the pins and chains.
Psychic. No, you know what? I can't even argue this. I think this makes the most sense. You can't do dark. You can't do dark for Pinhead, and the reason why is because he thinks he's doing quote the right thing. You know, angels to some, demons to others. You could make the argument that it could be fairy steel instead of psychic steel, but I think psychic makes the most sense. Um, that's the interesting thing with like Pokemon types now. If you haven't noticed that psychic and fairy are like very, 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 very similar. That's why there's like That's why there's like 20 psychic fairy types. Oh, cheap viewers, hell yeah! Let's fucking go, man. I've been getting a lot of you guys past few days.
And Psychic for his abilities to control them with his mind, directing them and also teleporting. He's a mysterious demon or angel to others from the labyrinth. Artist, Normal, Dark. Kamina was tough, but I think she...
Okay, listen here. Listen the fuck here. Listen the fuck here. You said that Nurse was a flying type because she can float. Meanwhile, the woman who shoots birds at people does not be just flying dark. Come on, man. Come on. I don't even know if dark technically fits her either because she's not evil. She's one of the few not evil killers on the cast. Fairy because of the art? Maybe? Hmm. I think, okay, flying for sure. I think we could all agree on flying, right? This secondary typing. Also, Vic, we're reacting to an Asimov's video. He assigned Pokemon types to every killer. And I'm debating them because I think it's fun. Very dark for both sides of artist. You know what you could do? Hang on, let me see if I can remember the ability. Yeah, you could do this for artist. I forget the ability name, but you could do what oh my god, I welcome to my world where I used to know every Pokemon's name, but now there's 1,000 of the fuckers and I can't remember it. Uh you could do this where she's flying normal, but she can like switch types. Flying is debatable because she okay, all right. You know what? You know what? Fine. We're doing this. Hang on a second. Fine. We're doing this. We're fucking doing this. Why is Gyarados flying type? Anyone got a good answer? No, he doesn't. He doesn't fly. It's like a Chinese dragon, so it's only on aesthetics? Artist literally shoots birds at people. I'm trying to think of another dumb one. That cannot be all the flying. Also, why do they only give me Gyarados? I'll go down the list. Cramorant, such an amazing design, by the way. Moltres, Noctowl, Xatu, Murkrow. Mantine does actually fly. Wow, it really is just Gyarados. Gyarados is like the odd man out in the flying type. Wow. Why? Oh, that's funny. Oh yeah, Oricorio also doesn't fly. Neither does there's another Birdmon that doesn't fly either. It specifically says it in the Pokedex entry. It's oh my god. Dotrio and Doduo, they don't fly, they're just birds. That's why they hit the flying type. Flamigos fly. There's a cutscene of them flying in game. And Delabird's a penguin. Penguins don't fly. Yeah, see, you don't have to fly to be a flying type. It's funny because, so little known, well, not little. This is the thing. I was in the Pokemon scene for a while, so I don't know what's little known and what's like widely known. So so when Generation 1 was made, there wasn't a flying type in the beta. It was bird type. It was just a bird type. There was a whole separate typing. And then after it came out, they changed it to flying type, and I guess that was to make it more applicable to more different creatures, I suppose. Which didn't really work because almost every bird is a flying type. Also, fun fact about the flying type. Did you know there is only one Pokemon that is solo flying type with no dual typing? And it is one of the genies whose name I forget. And now we wrap this back around because I still don't know what her secondary type would be. But I think flying, yeah, the green one. He's the only solo flying type in the game. He's the only flying type that doesn't have a secondary typing. It's so odd that he's the only one. What moves, rarities, and Vic? I'm not gonna be here for 5 fucking hours talking about this. Well, you see, if you really think about it, Artist would be a flying dark type, and she would actually be a specially defensive wall with really low HP, but really high special defense to make up for it. Her speed would be pretty average, and her attacking stat would be middling at best, but probably mid. And her special attack would be decently low, since her crows actually do physical damage since they make direct contact. Okay, well. Oh, right. No, Pumpkin, you're right. No. I'm so sorry. You were correct. They are pure flying. They were the first pure flyings after the genie whose name I forget. But yes, you were correct. Thank you for that. I completely forgot about that. Everyone does because they're the pre-evos. No one really cares. But still. But yeah, I guess either flying fairy or flying dark for Artists to me. That took us 12 minutes to figure out.
She does still primarily fit into normal, with these being her core. She is one of the most normal killers in both appearance but also backstory. Then dark.
Hold up. She's one of the most normal killers in a I'm going to Google a lot today. Listen, I love you. What normal human being looks like this? Oh It's not even just the obvious, right? It's not even just like she's missing her arms, whatever, the amputees are a thing. Look at her neck. Look at her body shape. This is not a normal human being. Her legs go up like all the way to here. Also, no offense to anyone who like happens to have really long legs or like a really stretched out neck naturally, okay? It's not what I mean. Normal's the incorrect word, but you know what I mean. Like,
For her
sure.
darkness that overtakes her, being a key feature of her entity-given powers, but also her appearance with her dark eyes, hands, and mouth. Flying I did debate, but I sort of thought it didn't fit because she doesn't fly, but I suppose her crows when she fires them out do fly, so maybe she could also have a flying type there as well. Sadako, Psychic, Ghost, Water. Sadako's primary power is
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think you could have just gone Ghost Water and it would have been fine. I don't think a Psychic was necessary. I get the reasoning, but I don't think it's necessary. I do like that he threw water in here for Sadako. Uh, but yeah, I think Ghost Water would have been just fine, personally. Looks normal to me. Listen, like, she is clearly a human. I get it, Exela. I do, but like, she doesn't. She's using like psychically controlled limbs, Like, I don't know. She needs psychic. I mean, either Ghost Psychic or Ghost Water. I think either works. I think this is
best
a fine
described by it
choice.
being psychic, but she's also of course a ghost, so there are two core features of her character and her powers. Her final category of water is more of a thematic and encompassing one, with her having heavy ties to water and its imagery, with it also representing her rage, described as being similar to a raging sea. Dredge, Dark Ghost. This one is quite straightforward, a dark
I know I've been saying it a lot. I think Dredge could have been Dark Fairy. I think Dark Fairy would have made more sense. Because he's like a folklore character. I'm probably going to say the same thing for Unknown, by the way. But he's like a folklore mystical character. He doesn't really have thoughts. Right? He's just like a being of he's like a manifestation of an event. So like I think Ghost or a Fairy could work. But the dark I mean the dark's obvious. No thoughts, head empty.
creature with ghostly features like the fog and general floating, but also for the many dead beings that still live on within. Wesker, Fighting Steel.
Hold up, 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 hold up. I heard that. You didn't think I heard it, but I heard it. He said floating, chat. By his logic, Dredge should be a flying target. Fighting Steel for Wesker. Fighting Steel for Wesker. Fighting, no, I agree with fighting. I agree with that 100%. It's the steel part I'm trying to like. So I think there's two options here. I think you could go fighting poison or fighting bug. Or fighting dark. I think one of those three works. I'm curious on his reasoning for steel. His knife is metal. I mean, yeah, but you can't use by that logic. Legion should be steel type. Wait, was Legion steel type? I don't even remember. Hang on. No, normal fighting ice. Ice because of Ormond. Okay. Yeah, I think either fighting bug, fighting dark, or fighting poison makes the most sense for Wesker.
Wesker is most definitely primarily a fighting character, with him typically using his fists and speed to take on his enemies. A secondary category of steel seems appropriate, however, to represent
His fist, his speed, and the bottom of his heel. Just need to add that in there.
His use of weaponry, but also for his steel-like endurance and skin, which enables him to survive a number of otherwise unlikely events. Knight, steel fighting a ghost. Steel for the armor, fighting for the incredible fighting ability.
Okay, alright. Steel for sure. I think steel makes the most sense. Ghost, I understand. I think fighting is a stretch. Honestly, I think Steel Ghost would have just worked just fine. I don't like because the fighting type for Pokemon doesn't necessarily mean the ability to fight. It just means strength, and it kind of just means an antithesis to Dark, which is evil. And I don't think Knight really fits that at all, considering he's, really, 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 really not a good person. So.
And finally Ghost for the guards, but also Tahos himself, who appears to be undead in some capacity. All fairly straightforward placements, but they all fit really easily for Knight, I think. Skull Merchant, Steel Normal. She comes from the chapter Tools.
Steel Normal for fucking Scully, huh? Wouldn't I be like Phalanx? Oh, that's actually a good point. You know what? I take back what I said then. Yeah, fighting kind of works for him then. That's interesting. Steel Normal for Skull Merchant. I can't argue it. I think it works. I was trying to think of like a type that would fit the drones better, but electric doesn't really work. Because they're like not shocking you, they're putting a trap on you. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, just because she doesn't have any powers, I think Steel Normal works.
Of Torment, and her inventions and tools are largely all made of steel, like her drones and her dual blades. Aside this,
hey, we don't know that. For all we know, the drones are made of titanium. Okay, we don't know. She's rich.
Normal, with her appearance being fairly regular and human. These are her defining features.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the drones are diamond encrusted on the inside. I really wouldn't.
Tools, and then her regular appearance. Singularity, Steel, Electric. These are the two categories that fit.
Okay. Electric for sure. No, I can't argue this one either. I think Steel Electric works. I honestly can't think of anything else.
The best, with him being powered by technology, steel and electric. I guess something to represent the crystal that unleashed his AI and freed it could be something more mysterious like fairy, but this is a bit debatable. Xenomorph, Poison, Ground. Xeno is primarily a poison.
Okay. Grounds, I'll give you. I'm assuming the logic there is because of the tunnels. What I will say, again, you said earlier you couldn't think of a killer that would fit Bug. And Xenomorphs are literally called bugs. Bug Poison, Bug Ground would have been perfectly fine. I don't think anyone would have questioned it. I'm assuming the logic for poison is because they infect people. But I think Bug Ground would have made a lot more sense. What? They have acid blood? Yeah, I know they have acid blood, but acid is poison. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I guess bug poison does make more sense. I'm thinking of it in game, but yeah, I think Yeah, bug poison probably makes more sense. Like, with all of it. It's literally... I'm going to bring back some PTSD for some people. It's just Salazzle. Salazzle was fire poison, but still, like, bug poison works. Acid is literally a poison. Yes, it is, but, like, I'm just saying in game, like, they don't really use the acid blood. The tunnels are more emphasized than the acid blood. They have the add-on, obviously, that no one uses, but, you know.
For its acid blood that pumps through its veins, but also for its general poisonous attitude it has to most living things.
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, the fucking tails jump scared me because of how much of the screen it takes up. Holy
Then we
shit.
have ground, particularly for its realm version, due to it heavily relying on its tunneling ability, using the ground and its ability to track with it to its advantage. Chucky, dark, fairy, fighting. This may seem like an odd
Okay. Alright, I had a lot to say. This was the only one that got spoiled for me because I looked it up before I went on Twitter. Chucky is literally a man's ghost inside of a doll. So, I think Dark Ghost would have been just fine. I could see the leap in logic to Fairy, whatever. Fighting for Chucky.
combination, but a key part of Chucky is actually the magic he utilizes, which is what turns him into a doll to begin with, this being a rather dark magic, which often relies on sacrifice or some kind of trade-off. He's also just incredibly sadistic, hence the dark as well. Then finally fighting, as he's incredibly vicious, aggressive, and surprisingly competent.
Okay. The vicious and the aggressive part, I think, could have just been filled by the dark type, just saying. He's strong, comparatively, because for being a doll, he's really strong. But I think Fairy Ghost or Dark Ghost or Fairy Dark would have been just fine. I don't think you need to throw the fighting in there. I really do think Ghost has to be a part of this in some way, but I can understand the logic of making it Fairy instead, though. I'm just trying to imagine Chucky, like, boxing someone, like a hand-to-hand fight.
At fighting for his size. Unknown, dark, psychic. Unknown was a really tricky one to
I already said it. Unknown is a fairy type. If there is a single killer in this entire list who is fairy, it is Unknown. It is unfucking known. Unknown is the most fairy killer in the entire game. He's literally a cryptid that no one knows nothing about. If that's not a fairy, I don't know what is. As far as the secondary typing, I mean, you can go with psychic or dark. Grass steel, because damn it, my logic.
define, as it feels like it doesn't really fit into anything technically, but could equally fit into.
Oh, I'm stupid. Fairy poison. Because of the UVX poison. Well, and that's my point on why it would be a fairy type, is because we know nothing about it. It's like a fey creature. It's a cryptid.
Anything due to its openness of ability. A core
But we
feature,
know
I think,
Axe.
is simply dark. Whatever Unknown is, it's clearly born from some kind of darkness, with it being its purpose. Then we have Psychic for its clear deceptive abilities through its imitation of appearance and noises. It gets in your head and deceives you. Vecna, Psychic, Fairy.
Doesn't it literally stand for Unknown Venom X? I don't know if that's what it stands for, but it is described as a venom, a poison. So, like, fairy poison to me makes the most sense. Also, who said, who guessed what Vecna was going to be? This is a while ago. Let me see. Psychic Dark? So close. So close. It was Psychic Fairy. I think Psychic Dark makes more sense than Fairy for Vecna. Again, it is so strange when you really look at it how similar Psychic, Fairy, and Dark are to each other in like what they technically describe. But I would go with Dark. My chat is so empty, it's giving no signal vibes. That's not very nice to say. Hold up a second. Did I just get negged by a fucking bot? Moving on.
Flying. Vecna combines a number of magic-focused types, being Psychic and also Fairy, for his magic and magical abilities. He has the ability to summon creatures, but also project orbs, and use other...
Okay. I think the flying is unnecessary. I think if you were going to add a third typing, I would just make it Dark. I think Psychic Dark makes more sense, though.
The telekinetic-like abilities. He can also, of course, fly, hence the flying. Dracula, Flying Dark Dragon. Dracula is a vampire, and so
I think you could have just gone Dark Dragon, and we're good. Legitimately, I think you could have just gone Dark Dragon, and we're good. I don't think flying is necessary. Just give him Levitate. Just make him Dark Dragon with Levitate. Just make him High Dragon, okay? Why Dragon? Have you seen Dracula's final form? He's basically a dragon.
Flying and Dark seem like givens, with him being a Dark Lord who utilizes his form as a bat to move around. He could maybe have...
Well, I think also because I think he wanted to make sure everyone had, like, at least every type was used on one character. And if there was one character to put Dragon type on, I think Dracula makes the most sense.
Fairy 2 due to his magical and transformation abilities. I have given him Dragon though, due to his true form, which has some draconic elements. I really wanted to give at least one killer dragon, so there you go.
Yeah, see. Yeah.
Dragon, I would debate, also has magical elements to it as a type, and therefore would work well for him anyway.
Xeno Dragon Bug. Hang on, does Bug resist Fairy? Hang on a second. It's been a bit. It does. Okay. It does resist Fairy, which means that it would take neutral damage from Fairy. All right.
I think a few other characters could technically fit into Dragon, because I think the Dragon type, it doesn't always mean the thing needs to be an actual dragon, you know, it's like draconic features or certain magical abilities or powers are sometimes associated with the Dragon type as well. But to play it safe, we'll just give it to Dracula. Houndmaster, Water Fighting. Water made the most sense for Portia with...
Water Fighting for Houndmaster. You know what? I'm not gonna disagree. I actually kind of like that typing for her. I would have liked some way to incorporate Snug into there, but yeah, pirate, water fighting, I think it makes sense. And fighting actually kind of does fit Snug, so yeah.
Her being raised on the sea, with it being a key part of her identity and abilities. Fighting is down to her being an incredibly capable and violent fighter in her lore, able to survive for years alone with Snug, and in many improbable situations for a normal person. Let me know which types you would give to each of the killers.
Houndmaster second Pokemon to get good as gold and immediately becomes meta. That's a deep cut that no one gets if they don't play Pokemon. Like, I don't fully disagree with most of these. I think a lot of them are sound thoughts. It just, I don't know. I feel like Fairy wasn't used enough. I feel like Fairy wasn't used enough. I feel like Dark, like, you guys did it too. I feel like Dark was used way too much. And I get it, again, like, they're evil, so Dark fits a lot of them. But, like, I don't know. I think it's a little boring to make them all Dark types, you know? Like, over half the cast would just be dark types. Some of them were questionable, like Chucky being fighting type. But no, some of them were good though. I like again. I like how when we got to Nemesis, like he said rock fighting, and like I didn't even question it because it's like, you know what? No, I get it. I totally get it. I don't know. That was fun. It is a little fun little jaunt though.